Welcome back, guys. In today's Destiny video, we are going to be looking at the top 5 PvP primary weapons. A lot of these are going to be exotic, and we're going to look over some that have spanned the lifespan of Destiny. Now, I will say the first 5 to 4, are not in order. They're in any order you want. But the number 1 slot is probably definitely the most effective weapon in the history of the Crucible. So without further ado, let's get into the video. At number 5, we're going to be going with the Vex Mythoclast. Now, when the game first came out, this weapon was amazing. You could only get it by defeating the Vault of Glass raid on hard mode. Now, the gun's undergone a lot of changes since then. It's nowhere as good as what it used to be. Before, it had a massive magazine and was just a really super weapon to use. It's a fusion rifle that obviously fires in full auto and is a primary weapon, which made it interesting. But in the initial release of the game, you could just absolutely melt people with this gun, rip straight through them, and that made it super powerful. But they did get nerfed to bring it down to par with other weapons, which is then going to lead us onto our next weapon in this top PvP Crucible weapons list. But the Vex definitely deserves a mention just for how powerful it was at the time. Next was the Soros regime. This weapon dominated the Crucible back in the days when auto rifles were super powerful. Some people would not actually fully upgrade their Soros simply because they didn't like the slower fire rate you would get when you fully upgrade it. Obviously in year 2 you can pick and change the different Soroses, but we're not looking at the year 2 Soros, we're looking at the year 1 here, which had that set fire rate when upgraded. Me, I loved the focus fire on this gun. It made it super easy to hit headshots. It's still a viable weapon, but nowhere near as good as what it used to be. This was the go-to weapon anytime Iron Banner came round, and it really did just completely dominate the Crucible for a very long time. Next up, we are going to be looking at the Red Death. Now, this was a weapon nowhere near as dominant as the other weapons, but there was a time when you could 2-burst headshot enemies with this gun. It was super easy to do, and obviously with the health regen ability and the quicker reload after getting a kill, it just made this gun a very competitive weapon to use. And as you can see here in this short clip, each of these kills I get heal me, and were it not for the heal ability and the quicker reload ability, I wouldn't have continued getting kills with it, and that's what made it such a useful weapon, combined with that 2 headshot tap kill. Next, we have the year 2 modern multi-tool. Now, in year 2, when this weapon come up to the current damage set and was used a lot more in things like Trials of Soros and the Iron Banner, this weapon really started to shine, to the point where they have given it a bit of a nerf. But even with that nerf happening, this gun is still super useful and super powerful. The third eye on it is just amazing for Crucible, the high fire rate, and the fact that you can hit a 57 headshot damage with this weapon, and that's just really cool, the speed you can hit it with. And it has been a very dominant weapon in the Crucible in year 2. Again, nowhere near as overpowering as something like the Soros, but still this weapon has been great for us. Finally, moving on to the number 1 slot, which is actually occupied by 3 weapons. No need to guess what these 3 weapons are. You're about to see them anyway, even if you can't. But there is, of course, the Hawkmoon, the exotic hand cannon, which was a PlayStation exclusive for the first year of Destiny. Moving into the second year, it did get a substantial nerf, but this hand cannon has been one of the best exotic primaries in the entire game, and is still a very good weapon to use even to this day. Even if you have poor accuracy and you're not landing all your bullets, this weapon is just so powerful. It can wreck people in seconds and even get you a 2-bullet kill when you get lucky enough to get it proc. Next, of course, there is the Last Word, a weapon with an amazing time to kill that has been super powerful, and despite any nerfs this gun has had, it has always stayed a weapon that features heavily in the Crucible, and that's why it's up in this list. But moving on now to the number 1 weapon, the outright winner that has been used so much by people, whether you love the gun or hate the gun, and most people do hate the gun, and that is the Fawn. With its tick damage over time effect, people just really hate this gun, but it gets people so many kills that it was featured so heavily in year 1. That's probably why it got left in year 1 and didn't come forward to year 2, even though it did have a decent fire rate and impact combination with that Send It perk as well for the range. people just couldn't get over the damage over time, and that's why it got left behind, but also why it featured so heavily in the Crucible for such a long time and why it was so dominant. But guys, that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Feel free to let me know your own personal top 5 PvE primary weapons in the comments section. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like rating. It's always appreciated and it really does help the channel grow. To never miss a video, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video.